Hey there, my name is Cole Adams, and you are watching the best college basketball podcast out there that covers the entire sport of college basketball, brackets, bubbles, and bid stealers. Now, here are your hosts, Sam Fetterman and Jonathan Lidskin.
Season 5, episode 77 of Bubbles and Bid Stealers. We have a bracket. It's right here. The NCAA tournament field has been revealed. Sam Fetterman with Jonathan Lidskin. Jonathan, how are you doing tonight?
I am doing great. I've been staring at this piece of paper that I have right here for the last 3 hours, but we're good.
And we are joined by MAC champion, Mount St. Mary's head coach, Donnie Lind. Coach, how have the last 24 hours been for you?
Awesome. I mean, to say the least, it's been a lot of fun, not a lot of sleep, but it's all well worth it. We got back to campus in time to watch the end of the A10 tournament, and then get ready for the selection show on campus, which has been great.
Coolest person to reach out and congratulate you?
Oh man, I mean, just all the people that have meant so much to me. The mentors is really what is cool to me. Just see Coach Jones and Jamie and Call from across the other side of the world, and obviously Coach Smart. Those guys, reach right out. It was awesome. Dwight Perry's a really good friend of mine. I talked to him right before our tournament. He answered the phone the day after they won and talked to me for about 30 seconds. And I was like, man, I can't believe he would pick up the phone and answer. I was just going to leave him a message. And then he returned the call and called me on the bus ride back this morning. So that was pretty cool.
Coach, has your phone been usable for anything other than answering texts and calls in the last 24 hours?
No, not too much. It is dying very quickly, and I'm trying to respond to people as fast as I can. Will Wade taught me when we were at VCU to try to get back to everybody within 24 hours. He also said if you respond to people at 2 a.m. when you're watching film and they're asleep, then they can't respond back. So, 3/4 of them will wake up in the morning and decide to not respond, and then you don't have to start a conversation. So I might do that. It doesn't mean I don't love you if you get a call back from a text back at 2 a.m. It's just, trying to manage my time here over the course of the next couple of days.
So bracket comes out, you see the name Mount St. Mary's on there. What does it mean to see Mount St. Mary's on a printed sheet of paper on the NCAA tournament bracket as you've led this team to this point?
Yeah, it's awesome. It's surreal, really. I've been fortunate to be a part of a lot of teams that have gotten to go to the dance, and there's nothing like it. But the emotion I felt those other years, the joy is not the same as this year. It's a sense of pride, but also an immense sense of responsibility here at the Mount. There's so many people who care about Mount basketball. So to see that our name go up there and think about all those people who are at home, and just as excited as we were to see our name up there and the responsibility we have to them to get this team ready to go play in a couple days and put out, the best version of ourselves on Wednesday night.
Coach, you guys got through the MAC tournament with a couple key injuries. What does it say about your team that you guys were able to keep fighting through that tournament as the 6th seed? And what do you think it also says about your team that, they won the tournament as the 6th seed?
Yeah. Well, the unbalanced schedule of the MAC played a little bit of a role in that, right? We end up as the 6th seed, even though we were tied for 4th. And I think we knew, 8-3 over the last 11 games of the regular season, as good as anybody else in the league. So had a ton of momentum coming in. So we were able to kind of add to a chip on our shoulder by the fact that just by mathematics we end up as a 6th seed when we very easily could have been the 4. But really the ability of our guys to battle through and persevere and enjoy the adversity that we faced, that's my favorite part of winning this tournament. That guys go down, 2 guys out for the whole tournament. Dallas misses half a game, one of our leading scorers, and the guys just said, we'll be all right. Whatever that adversity comes through, we're just going to be all right. We'll find a way. And that it speaks a lot to their character, speaks a lot to them being able to just trust that their teammates are have their back and are really good players.
What have you learned so far about American, another DMV team?
Yeah,
They got Dwayne Simpkins is the head coach. Matt Rogers, tremendous player. What have you learned so far about the Eagles?
Yeah, Dwayne texted me congratulations this afternoon. That's ironic. With a face palm emoji. I think we both kind of knew this was coming. But we've known each other for a long time, ran around the same circles, and he and Coach Jones, my old boss, are really close. So we've gotten to know each other, and he's got a good team. They're well coached. They are aggressive. They can shoot the ball really well from the perimeter, and then they got one of the better bigs at this level in Matt Rogers, who is versatile. Inside outside threat. It's hard for me to like watch them. I've watched a little bit more than one game so far, and Staff's watched more than I have. But I haven't been able to like figure out a MAC comparison to them yet. Different. They're different than the teams we play.
Yeah, I've seen American in person. They're not like anyone in the MAC because no one in the MAC has a Matt Rogers.
Right.
No one in the MAC has a guy that spreads the floor like that, can do all that off the dribble, and then also has as much experience on the rest of the team. This is a matchup of two teams that were both able to retain a lot through coaching changes, and I think that's a really fun thing to see in college basketball right now. One of the things that you were at your players were asked about yesterday. You go down and wipe down the wet spot on the floor. If you do that on Wednesday night, like you're like that's going everywhere.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not like I'm trying to do something. I just, I was a student manager, and it's like in my nature. I do it in our practices. If there's something that needs to be done, I want our players to understand that like my job is to serve them. My job is to do whatever I can to help them be their best. And if they're going to be able to be their best in practice because the floor is cleaned up faster, so we can get on to the next thing, then why wouldn't I do that? I've been wiping up floors as long as I've been in this business. I've been doing laundry as long as I've been involved in basketball. Why would I stop now? And so, it needed to get done, and everyone was kind of standing around waiting. So, I just grabbed the towel and got it done so we could keep the game going. We were on a little bit of a run right there. We didn't want to stop and everybody stand around for 3 minutes. We wanted to keep the game moving.
My brother was a student manager. Jonathan's brother is a student manager. What do you say? What would you say as a former student manager that has gone on and grinded through and now become a successful head coach? What would you say to the student managers that want to have your career?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I hope that I can be a inspiration or a resource or whatever I can be to those guys, because it is possible more and more now than ever before, because players understand that if you care about them, what your background is and what your pedigree was, it doesn't matter. If you can prove to the players that you care about them as people and that you'll do whatever it takes to help them get better, then they'll trust you and they'll buy in, and you'll be able to build a culture that'll work. And so keep going. Student managers out there who want to become a Division I head coach, like don't stop. It took me you just got to get one person to let you in the door. It's funny. Tim Welsh was on the call for the championship game, and I told him before the game, when I was a senior in college trying to get my first job, I sent a handwritten note to every Division I coach in the country with my resume, and he was one of about 25 people who took the time to write me back, and I just thanked him because in my first year as a head coach, I tried to do that to everybody who wrote me, but it's hard. You don't have a lot of time, and so for him to do that, spoke volumes. But that's the type of determination and tenacity that you got to have if you want to make it in this business. And I appreciate him for responding to me, but those managers want to be out there. If you're willing to do the work, someone will notice eventually, and then you got to take advantage of the opportunities you get.
Coach, you obviously spent some time as a video coordinator at VCU. You were on a staff that everyone talks about now with all the great coaches that were on that staff. What do you think you took away from that experience at VCU and how it's helped you get to this point now?
Yeah, it's unbelievable. You realize while we were there, we knew that it was a great staff. Like, we knew that we had really good people in the room, but what made it so cool was that everybody, was really good at their job, but nobody had an ego that they were above doing anything, that it was about them. Coach Smart, got us all to believe and buy into it being about the players. right? And our job to serve them, and our job to help him build the culture in our program. And I've been shouting it from the mountaintops every time I get a chance. But there's nobody in this business that can build a culture better than Coach Smart can. And I got to live it firsthand for 3 years. And what I learned, I tried to learn as much of that as I could, because someday in the back of my mind, I was hoping to have my own program, and I know that if I wanted to do it, it was going to be that way. And so, tried to steal as much culture as I could, the culture building, how to relate to players, how to get players to buy into ideas and concepts, and how to inspire your staff to work really hard, but also not take themselves too seriously, and have a ton of fun with what we're doing. And it's been a foundation to everything I've done.
For the people who haven't seen the Mount play, it does kind of feel like you try and play like those VCU teams with the Havoc style. How would you describe the Mount to people who haven't seen this team play?
Yeah, well, we've had to evolve a little bit, Sam. That with all the injuries, we can't quite be as havocy as we were early in the year. But we are a frustrating team to play against, and we have a lot of fun with that. We enjoy making it really difficult on the other team. And we have a unique defense that requires our guys to play really hard and be versatile. And it can be really frustrating to people. And then we play with a lot of freedom on the offensive end. It was ugly this weekend as we were adapting to new lineups and injuries and all sorts of things. But we got good players, and they can step up in big moments. We got a lot of guys who really care about winning. We're not a team that you're going to watch and be like, man, if you can just shut down that one guy, they're not going to be able to they're not going to be able to win. We're deep, we're talented, we are unselfish on the offensive end, and we can beat you in a number of ways on the offensive side of the ball.
You went to Dayton with the Mount about 11 years ago. You're going back to Dayton. What do you remember?
This is my fourth time, Sam. Fourth time in Dayton.
Wait. Were you not with
the VCU first four? The first ever time in Dayton. First four to the Final Four. I had Mount in Dayton. I had Radford in Dayton, and now this is fourth time. I might as well get a house. It's but Dayton there's a reason why the tournament keeps going back there for the first four. Why they don't move it around like they do everywhere else. They're the fans. So I grew up an hour from Dayton. I lived in a little small town called New Knoxville, Ohio. I lived there till I was 15. You guys are young, but you guys have seen Hoosiers, I imagine. Yeah. That's what it's like out there, right? Like, people there love basketball. They don't care that their team's not playing as long as there's good basketball being played. And so the fans and the people of Dayton, they make such a good experience for the teams that are there, with an unbelievable game atmosphere, with thousands of people there to watch the open practices, with a groups of people that come to your hotel and make you feel so welcome. And it is such a great experience for the guys. And, obviously, to go into the NCAA tournament at a mid-major, low major, whatever you want to say you are, and have a chance to win a game, right? Play a winnable game that is not a 2 out of 25 or 1 out of 50 game, is a lot of fun. It's exciting. It gives you some juice, that, hey, we're gonna get tossed up there, play a team that's similar to us, and see what we can do. And that's really exciting. That's why the format works so well. You get so many good games against teams that are they're like opponents, which is what we all like to see in these games.
Coach, last thing for you. Don't want to take up too much of your time. From your time at VCU, do you have any memorable Shaka Smart stories?
Yeah, I got to see, what version I want to use or what he'd approve of. So Coach is a master motivator. And I can't tell you the exact game, but one of my many jobs there was like puppet master for his props. So like before the game, every game almost, we'd have a theme of some sort, and there'd be a right before the game, some way of tying this theme into how we were going to win the game. And I don't remember who we were playing, but his theme was that, the team we were playing didn't have the guts to win. They didn't have the guts to win. And my mission on that day was to go to a farm just north of Richmond and find and buy pig intestines and bring them to the gym, hide them in the locker room, so that when he goes to talk to the team the last time, he could, dip his hands in a pan and pull out these pig intestines and, talk about how, this other team doesn't have the guts to beat us. And, just another way to help us try to get a win, another way to help motivate your team. And he's the best at it. I mean, he just would find different ways to get the guys to understand that we have an advantage here. Let's figure out a way to win.
Have you asked anyone on your staff to do that?
No, not quite yet. It's we try to find different ways to motivate, but we haven't gone quite to the pig intestines or live piranhas eating prey or anything like that Coach Smart may have tried to get us to do.
All right, Coach. Thank you so much for joining us. Can't wait to see the Mount play on Wednesday night on a national stage. Good luck.
Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate you guys talking to me.
All right. So, obviously, great conversation with head coach at the Mount, Donnie Lind. He's given us some really nice stories, some really nice information. I hope you guys enjoyed that. He was talking like way faster than he talked on in the press conferences, because I'm sure he's really busy.
Yeah.
But we're gonna bring on CJ here, new friend of the program. CJ, why don't you introduce yourself?
How's it going? My name is CJ. I am a sophomore at Seton Hall. I do the radio station. I do the sports broadcasting club. I love college basketball like the rest of you. And a fun fact is I collect a lot of hats about colleges. So this is one of like 15 or 16 hats I have here at school. It was between this one and the Montana one for tonight in honor of Selection Sunday.
All right.
I can't believe you didn't lead with the fact that you're a believer.
Listen. I am a St. Joe's Prep alum, but I do love the Jesuits. I love Hawk Hill. Philly basketball is always number one, but I don't know. I'm interested to see where they go after this NIT run.
Yeah, NIT bound.
NIT bound. The A10, right. The SEC of the NIT.
That's a good one. All right. So
just writing that down for later.
We did a different way of picking our brackets this year. Did we explain this?
I explained it on the show earlier today.
Okay. I'm going to explain it even quicker.
We're not picking while you explain it.
We're not picking a whole bracket on one night. So we're not going to come out of here and tell you who we have winning every game in the field, every game down to the national championship. We are going round by round. We're doing the first round. We're maybe going to get to the second round tonight. Jonathan and I have not thought about the second round yet. We have just thought about the first round. And it's allowing us to pick games instead of picking teams. And Jonathan will also go over the Bracket Bible on Tuesday with Quentin. That will be a very fun show. I will not be able to join that one. I don't think it's worth it for me to join it. I think Jonathan does a good job with the Bracket Bible show himself.
Oh, that's so nice of you, Sam.
I'm sure Quentin will be excellent on it.
He is excited for it.
CJ is not very familiar with the Bracket Bible.
I'll explain it since we brought it up. The Bracket Bible, I'll say first, it was inspired by Bill Simmons. Bill Simmons has a NFL playoff betting manifesto, and I, became fascinated with it one year, probably 3-4 years ago. And, it led me to the thought of, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we had something sort of similar for college basketball, for the NCAA tournament? And so that inspired me to create the Bracket Bible. It is by no means perfect. It is by no means a exact science. It is simply guidelines to help you pick your NCAA tournament bracket. So Quentin Corpula and I will be sitting down on Tuesday night going over all of the rules / guidelines that I have written down in there. We'll be talking examples from this year's tourney, previous examples from past tourneys that have, inspired me to create each individual rule. It should be a fun show. We'll talk a lot of hypotheticals, and just, we'll kind of look forward to some stuff in the bracket.
Anyway, the first thing that I want to acknowledge here is that UC Riverside accepted an invitation to the CBI and then got picked for the NIT.
Oopsies.
This is one of the greatest things I've ever seen.
God, this sport rocks. I have to mute that tweet. It is getting really like there's way too many notifications right now from that. But
You send the walk-ons to the CBI?
hey, I texted somebody a couple of days ago and I was like, the crown is just going to end up being the manager games.
Oh my, wait, that's actually a great idea. That is a probably, oh my.
Don't they play like a manager games Final Four? Like at the Final Four?
Well, yeah, but that's only for the teams involved. I like the idea of having, because my brother was a manager as well, and he was involved in his fair share of manager games, and I would love to have because they have the rankings. I don't know if you guys have seen the rankings on
I've
Twitter.
seen these.
Yeah, I would love to see the top 4 managers get it going in Hinkle or wherever. I'd love to see that.
The NIT hosts the manager games NIT. That would be electric.
It's 10:21 and we still don't have a college basketball crown bracket.
The hours move on. The hours move on.
All right, now let's actually talk about the bracket itself,
Yeah.
the NCAA tournament bracket. Jonathan, how good does it feel to have a bracket in your hand?
It feels great. I'm sitting here looking at my bracket with my first round selections filled out already. And, you only get to do this once a year. So you got to make the most of it.
All right.
And that's why I picked Alabama State to beat Auburn. Okay.
All right. The first rule that I'm going by is I don't pick teams that I think suck. Except there were a couple of times when I had to pick a team that I think sucks.
because often team sucks.
There's a bunch of matchups where both of these teams need to get these guys out of here. Anyway, let's start. Shall we start at the top of the bracket?
Yeah, let's do it. When I'm always an advocate of when you fill out your bracket, you go from top left to the top right to the bottom left, and you go by round.
Yes.
I think that is the best way to fill out a bracket.
Yes.
I'm more of a top left, top right, and then bottom left, kind of like you're regularly reading. But I do go by round, yes.
Yeah, by round is non-negotiable. You never go by region.
Yeah, if you go by region, you're
well. You can go by region if you're filling it out on your phone.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. Yeah.
I did this all in pencil, by the way. I don't usually do that. But
that means you're not confident in your picks.
Because I'm not. It's night 1. I'm just looking at first round matchups right now.
I printed out like 7 earlier. That way
I printed out 10.
Oh my goodness.
So Alabama State against St. Francis. I don't really have any thoughts on that game. I've not watched Alabama State this year. I have watched St. Francis like once or twice. Honestly, the one of 2 NEC teams I didn't get to see in person this year. The other one being Mercyhurst. So, did not expect them to be here. Good on them. I was a pretty big doubter of them in the preseason, but they had a couple guys really have great years. Riley Parker, for one. Unfortunately, neither they nor Alabama State has a chance against Auburn, obviously.
I'd love to know where this stands among like worst first 4 matchups of all time. I mean, this is not to be the Debbie Downer, but this is 273 versus 311 in KenPom. Like, I find it hard to imagine that there have been many matchups that have been worse than that.
Yeah, it's bad. Like, not that it's not impressive that they made the tournament, but yeah, these 2 teams are. By the way, it always gives me chills to see the red highlights on KenPom.
Oh yeah, that happened like as soon as. Yeah, that was fun.
He does that so fast.
I think it was like updating by region too as the show was going on, because I was taking a look at it while I was doing my own radio show for it, and it was updating pretty quickly.
That's good. All right, Sam.
we've got. This is an interesting one. Louisville against Creighton. Jonathan and I went in depth discussing this matchup. Jonathan, where are we with this matchup?
Yeah, I have Creighton written down here right now. I can't promise you that's going to be the case come Thursday morning at 12 Eastern, but right now that's my pick. I mean, Louisville can expose Creighton, I think, on the defensive end if they were to commit to playing Noah Waterman at the 5. However, I think their defense would take a huge step back if they were to sit James Scott and Abubakar Traore in this game. I'm completely back and forth. Like, if Louisville, can play good enough half-court offense while not taking a huge step back on defense, I think they should be okay. But I worry about them against that drop coverage that Creighton runs.
I say the same. The thing about Louisville was I look at a potential Waterman lineup where they can pull Kalkbrenner out of the paint, not let him be as rover and drop as he usually is. But the issue with that is you would have to that lineup, the shooters lineup, wouldn't have Abubakar Traore in it, and you're really hemorrhaging stuff defensively if you don't have a big or Traore on the floor. I know how good Hepburn is defensively, but he can't do it all, especially with what Kalkbrenner is able to do in the post. I'm not the biggest Ryan Kalkbrenner is this and that. I think he's very, very, very good at certain things, and I think Creighton is really, really good at knowing how to get him to do those certain things as often as possible. I think Greg McDermott against Pat Kelsey, it's not a coaching mismatch, but I would lean towards Greg McDermott. And I found myself asking myself what Louisville had to do to win. And just the default setting was like, if Creighton does what they do and Louisville does what they do, Creighton would win. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of how I ended up with the Jays.
Yeah, and this was a tough one because I thought that my Big East tournament pick was Creighton, just because of the way that they've been playing down the stretch. Now, you look into it a little more, and I like the guard matchup that I like the advantage that Louisville has over Creighton. I think Ashworth and Jemiah Neal, I think those guys, they need to thrive off of energy and they need to thrive off of chaos a little bit. And this is not a Louisville team that's really going to be chaotic. They're going to take care of the basketball somewhat. This isn't a Creighton team that's going to turn them over. They don't turn over a lot of teams. Their defense isn't as, press heavy. They're not really going to pressure the guards. They're not really going to, force the issue. I think this is a game that Pat Kelsey is going to sit back and say, all right, this is a Creighton team that's not untouchable by any stretch of the imagination, no matter how dominant Kalkbrenner is going to be, because we've seen teams make him a non-factor in games before, especially in the Big East. I've really liked what the Cardinals have done this year, and I think that they're going to be able to take this one. It's going to be really, really tough, and I could see myself maybe flip-flopping in a day or two, but initial thoughts, I think Louisville is going to take it.
This is the first game of the tournament. It's the 8-9 in the region with the overall number 1, which is an SEC team from the state of Alabama. This is a game that features a team that was in the old Big East. So this is basically the same exact thing as the West Virginia-Maryland game from a couple years ago. Right?
Yeah. I mean, they have gone with the trend recently of the 8-9 game to start the tournament. You had the Michigan State-Mississippi State game last year.
You have some choice words about that game.
They just, it's pretty cruel of, CBS and the family of CBS networks to give us an absolute headache to start the tournament. You want to get the tournament started on a good note. And
Yeah, but like
fair,
you also don't want.
I had like a streak of like 4 years in a row of picking the opening game of the tournament correct, and that like it's always a close game. So last year the streak ended. This year we're starting a new streak, and I can't even tell you who I'm picking in this game confidently yet.
Neither can I. If the deadline were tonight and I had to make a choice by tonight, it would be the Jays. Moving on to the, I just don't want to end up in the same.
Yeah, no,
situation.
we can bounce around a little. Like
I just don't want to end up in the same situation that I was in 2 years ago, where I convinced myself that West Virginia would be able to press Maryland for 40 minutes and forget that one coach knew how to make adjustments and the other was Bob Huggins.
they did it for 10, 15 minutes successfully.
Yeah, and then Maryland made like four or five adjustments offensively to the way that they were breaking it, and the game was over when Eric Stevenson couldn't make a shot.
Yeah, it also helped that Eric Stevenson was a double agent in that game.
Eric Stevenson wanted to get these guys out of there. Michigan and UC San Diego.
This game like basically comes down for me to like a UC San Diego is going to have way more quality possessions than Michigan.
Way more quantity possessions.
Yeah, and quality. Honestly, like I don't think that
I think they're going to take more shots. I don't know how many of those shots they'll be able to get at the rim.
Like UC San Diego, if you watch them play offense, it's amazing because all five guys at any time on the floor can pass. And it's so tough to defend something like that because you have guys always moving. You have to be able to defend backdoors against them. They see stuff that most teams don't normally see. And it's why they only lost 4 games this year. Sam, I think you're right. Like, for me, I don't believe that UC San Diego will be blown out in this game, even if they lose. Because Michigan turns it over way too much, and it keeps teams in games. They've done it all year. And so I feel confident that UC San Diego is going to be in this game as the lower seed. And then it comes down to, can they capitalize off of turnovers? How many live ball turnovers do they force versus dead ball turnovers? And, how they're executing off of that.
CBB Analytics has this as 62% UC San Diego.
It's a 3.5 point spread. I mean, I know that's not favoring UC San Diego by any means, and they're never going to be favored in this game, but I do think that this is more of a toss-up than the spread indicates.
I agree. I think I do think it's a toss-up, and I don't have I don't look at this and say really anything, honestly.
I think the only place that you could see UC San Diego getting in trouble is, well, one is their experience, because they are 295th in KenPom and D1 experience, and then they really like to let their guys play even when they have 2 fouls. Their 2 foul participation is 5th highest in the country. So if Michigan is able to get some early get those guys in some early foul trouble, I could see a world where they take advantage of that early. Other than that, I have not been moved by this Michigan team at all this year, even with their big wins, and even with their most recent win over Wisconsin in the Big Ten championship. I just don't know. I can't put my finger on it. I guess it's just the inconsistency, probably at the guard position. I mean, Trey Donaldson's been playing some solid ball down the stretch, but throughout the season, I mean, that backcourt really hasn't done much for me. So I think relying on Danny Wolf and Vlad Golden might not be the best option to make a deep run. And again, this could have, there are some other 12 seeds that probably would have matched up better, for Michigan, but they just ran into the buzzsaw that is the Tritons.
Yeah, I think you're going to see a lot of
Anua Tate Jones is going to finish the legacy that AJ Mitchell should have a couple years ago. Again, they're very similar like type players where they're just like these 6'6" point guards, point forwards who can just get in the lane whenever they want. Aren't terrific outside shooters, but get in the lane, score in the paint, get to the line, and just like use their strength and size and discipline. And man, that UC Santa Barbara team had an interesting matchup with Baylor, but I want to see Anua Tate Jones have a big one. The key in this one, as we've been mentioning, I just tweeted it out. I just tweeted out a screenshot from CBB Analytics. UC San Diego is 37th in the country in shot volume. Michigan is 346th in the country in shot volume.
Yeah, I mean, I just think UC San Diego is going to make this a havoc game. Like I think Michigan is going to try to get Vlad Golden a lot of post touches because he's easily the tallest player on the floor. That's not Danny Wolf, and like UC San Diego is playing, guys that are 6'8", 6'9" at the tallest. So I think you're going to see a lot of Vlad Golden touches, and I think you're going to see UC San Diego double a lot from the weak side when Vlad Golden gets those touches. Like, they will live with Vlad Golden trying to make those skip passes out of the post.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. You have to. There's no way you can't. I mean, I like Norden Kapic, but I don't know if this is. I don't think this is an excellent matchup for him in particular. But man, I just think this UC San Diego team has such great perimeter defenders and such a great unit on defense. And they also score a lot. They're a really good offensive team too.
And listen, you can live with, all right, you can live with Michigan trying to beat you from beyond the arc. That's not something that you really have to, lose sleep over with your game plan if you're UCSD. Like, that's not something, this is a team that shoots sub 34% from three on the
season.
They
were 17th in the Big Ten in 3-point percentage.
Yeah, they're not going to. All right, cool. You have one good shooting day, you tip your cap and they move on. But in terms of, what's going to win the game 75% of the time for Michigan, it's going to be that post play. So I agree with what you guys are saying.
Yeah, if what am I trying to say? If UC San Diego can execute that game plan, then Roddy Gale and Reuben Jones are going to essentially be unplayable because like those are the guys they're going to double off of.
And Jonathan, I know we're not at the Bracket Bible Show yet. We're still 2 days away. Rule 1. Take
conference tournaments with a grain of salt. The Michigan team was like a corpse like a week ago, guys.
Yeah,
we were.
They had a nice week.
Yeah,
congratulations. Tip your cap.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the other thing about this is that don't you dare pick mid-majors, pick teams to win again.
I've been meaning to change that. It should be athleticism. It's not size because I mean Princeton beat Arizona and Arizona had a ton of size.
Yep.
It's the teams that athletically can disrupt you on the defensive end.
Yeah, I agree. Yale and Texas A&M.
Sam, you and I went at length at this too. Like, I'm going with A&M right now just because they're the more athletic team. But man, like, you just don't out hustle Yale ever, and that's what makes it so tough.
Yeah, like Yale plays clean. Like they are, like they don't turn it over. They hit shots. They get good shots. Like Yale is a really, really smart basketball team. They are, aside from when John Poulikitis just shoots from off one leg from 27 feet, but it goes in because he's John Poulikitis, the best shooter in college basketball.
Sam, what are those shots called? Sam, what do we call those shots?
I think you have to say it.
I would call them CTE shots. We got those contested, tough, and extra shots.
Yeah. But John Poulikitis is elite at those.
Yeah.
you got Ivy League Defensive Player of the Year 3 years running in Bez and Bang. Plus,
This is going to be a very interesting game for the Wade Taylor theory.
yeah, I think that this could be this is going to really test the Wade Taylor theory because
CJ, the Wade Taylor theory is that Texas A&M will be in any game no matter how many times Wade Taylor shoots the ball. Actually,
Honestly, yeah. And that's because of their offensive rebounding.
exactly.
Their ability to get second chance points. So that kind of segues into what I was saying. I was going to say, like, that's going to be the key for this game, is that no matter how many shots they miss, the physicality of Texas A&M and their ability to get their misses is going to be like the biggest thing for me.
It's different than what Yale has been seeing.
Exactly.
That's absolutely true. And Yale's 2 games against high major opponents early in the season, Purdue, not a team that you think about and say, oh yeah, like they're a really physical team, and Minnesota, not a great rebounding team either.
Yeah, there is I will stand by that Texas A&M shot selection is by intent. There is a method to their madness, and it's like them taking, as we call them now, the CTE shots. They're purposeful for them because
I think Wade Taylor
more high variance rebounds.
Wade Taylor easily leads the country in CTE shots.
Oh,
Let's
dude,
get a stat on that.
He's the CTE shots like Hall of Fame leader.
I don't know. I don't know.
Mount Rushmore of CTE shot makers. Let's think about it. That should be next
Wendell
episode.
Green.
Wendell Green, yeah. One of Sam's best all-time tweets.
The origin of CTE shots is because I used to watch a lot of Arizona State basketball.
Oh, yeah.
So Adam Miller, DJ Horn, who else? Even Des Cambridge. Oh my goodness, Des Cambridge.
Even like Remy Martin when he was there.
I was gonna say, yeah, Remy Martin did it too.
Yeah, he was. Oh my gosh, Remy was like the pioneer of the CTE shot.
Yeah, the CTE shot originated at Arizona State. That's good. I like that.
No, I think Remy Martin was like the ADHD shot, not even the CTE shot.
It was just extra. It wasn't contested or tough. It was just extra.
Remy Martin always played like he was experiencing an ADHD attack.
Oh man, miss Remy Martin though. Glad he got a ring, but miss him.
I have Yale in this game. I think that they'll be able to manage it enough on the glass. I feel like I don't see Yale getting killed on the glass. I can see Yale losing on the glass, but I think it's going to be manageable enough to the point where just real offense wins out at the end of the day. One of these teams runs real offense, has a real offensive strategy. The other just throws balls up and hopes that they're a better rebounding team than you. And A&M's they're the best rebounding team in the country. But I mean, Yale has stepped up rebounding in the tournament under James Jones for a very long time. They've always been rebounding has been a huge part of Yale's identity under James Jones for however many years. I'm not going to. I don't want to bet against James Jones, who I think is unbelievable coach at this point in time with this team that is just rolling offensively.
Harrison just said something to me and he makes a good point. Sam, CTE shots correlate with the players trying to be on best March Madness moments.
Oh man.
Well,
or those like in 5 years those TikTok edits.
Marquise Noel was a CTE passer.
Yes. Wait. Yes.
That guy and like Yuri Collins are like the two best assist hunters of all time.
Assist hunter.
That's
we
wow.
have crapped on way too many people.
Yeah. I'm interested to see the efficiency. Now, efficiency is not in Texas A&M's wheelhouse. But I wonder. It's just I don't know, because there's so much talent on this team. There's so much potential to be a really hot, a really streaky offensive team. It's just they're not efficient, and that's never really been the MO of this squad. So I think Phelps is gonna have to have a really good game in order for this squad to be comfortably ahead of Yale. Because Yale doesn't give up too many offensive rebounds, but as we said before, this is
exactly Yale has always been an excellent rebounding team.
And I get what you're saying, because last year you would think Auburn, after coming off that SEC championship, their defense, their rebounding, blah blah blah, their toughness, and then they just get blown out of the gym. But I don't know. I do not know.
Danny Wolf was 4 for 15 in that game. Bez had 5 points. August made 1 3, and they won that game.
It was Poulikitis, wasn't it?
Yeah, Poulikitis had 28.
You want to win NCAA tournament game?
To be fair, if you want to win an NCAA tournament game, it is very helpful when the other teams, when a key player from the other team ejects himself.
Yeah.
And when
a key player from the other team would rather tweet?
He was tweeting before the second media timeout.
If you give me a 10-1 or better, I'm not taking this with you guys. I would only take it on a book. If you give me a 10-1 or better that Chad Baker Bizarro's Twitter account sends out a tweet during an Auburn NCAA tournament game this year, I would take it.
Oh my goodness. Don't worry, he can come back for another year too, so you can keep that for 2 years.
This is a lot of discussion about half of a region.
San Diego State, North Carolina in a first 4 game in Dayton.
San Diego State's guards are really good at defending the point of attack. And I think that could cause UNC some problems. Now, UNC could just hit some really random threes and tough shots, because they have the capability of doing that. But I think San Diego State's the better coach team. They'll be way more physical inside. I have been told by our good friend of the program, Austin Mitchell, that Miles Heide has been much better down the stretch. But that's good, because much better is not how I would describe him at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I don't have too much to say. I think San Diego State exposes UNC on the defensive end, and they lead the conference in opponent field goal percentage, or opponent effective field goal percentage, with 46.2, and they turn people over 1 out of every 5 times down the floor. I don't think this is a UNC team that's going to be able to handle that kind of pressure.
I like the San Diego State team in this type of game.
He's going to be completely overmatched.
Jalen Withers took a CTE shot in a big spot last year.
I cannot believe the selection committee robbed us of Jalen Withers, costing UNC their season twice after all that Sam and I have said about him.
Dude, he cost them their season last year.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't really thought a ton about a matchup between either of these teams in Mississippi yet, but I haven't been the biggest Mississippi fan this year.
I've been in and out on Mississippi. So a lot of the middle of the SEC, I'm not exactly sure how I feel, because it's been so long since I've seen them play against teams that aren't the SEC.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I can't really speak too much, because I got to go with the homer pick because of former Pirate Dre Davis, but I do enjoy what the Rebels have done. I think they've proved themselves enough to where this matchup isn't gonna be the biggest issue. Now, as far as what goes on in the future, that doesn't matter. But I think I think the guards and the forwards for this Rebels team are solid enough, experienced enough, and tough enough to outlast. Even if UNC does come out on top, I think just the SEC toughness that they've been forged through, and Chris Beard's ability to lead his squad, I think this is going to be an Ole Miss win pretty handily.
My one kind of my concern with Mississippi right now is like they haven't been good defensively in like 2 months. Like they're 72nd in defense since January 25th. Like that's like this is a team that hung its hat on defense early in the season.
Teams hunting Padula.
And like I remember they were like 12th in defense at one point this year. They are really
like they do have they have the profile of a good defensive team. Very athletic across the board except for the point guard spot. And the point guard is out there to run the show for them offensively, which he does very well.
And I think you can like UNC would really be able to hunt Padula at a really high level.
Yeah, I think San Diego State would be able to as well.
I think a little less so.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
But I also think San Diego State can kind of match the athleticism.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So it would be two really very different types of matchups.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just noticing Taj DeGorkel and Wayne McKinney are both exactly 17 of 61 from three. But I think my lean. I think my lean here would be. I think my lean here would be Mississippi, because I don't really like. This San Diego State team is good. I don't think they're great.
Mm-hmm. I think that one of the bracket Bible rules that I kind of have stood by way more than others in recent years is that if you're gonna pick a play-in team to win their first round game, it's often because you're not a huge fan of the team they're playing against, not because you actually think the play-in team is good. And that's kind of where I'm at with both these play-in games for the 11 seeds right now.
I'm not out on Mississippi. I'm not in on them either. And I kind of feel the same way about San Diego State and North Carolina.
There's just a nothing, three teams.
Genuinely, the thing about Carolina is we haven't aside from literally Duke, we haven't seen them play a team with a pulse.
Yeah, it's so tough because you would if you watch them, it does look like they're playing better basketball recently. But they lost the two biggest games they played, granted against the best team in the country. But they still lost them. It's just so tough to tell with some of these ACC teams whether a team is actually improving or they're just playing teams that have completely quit on their season.
Yeah, I think the only way, well, not the only way, but if one of these squads was supposed to get at Ole Miss, I think the biggest way would be on the glass, because Ole Miss is let me double check, make sure I got this correct.
Ole Miss
300th in the country.
Does not get offensive rebounds.
Well, they don't get offensive rebounds, but they also just don't rebound, period. They're 300th in the country in rebounds per game. So if there's going to be a way to attack them, it's going to be on the defensive end, like you guys were alluding to, but it's also going to be, get these boards, because this isn't a team that's going to turn the ball over a lot either. They average less than 9 turnovers a game.
Padula takes care of the ball well.
So you're not going to be able to get out and run very easily.
Not a bad rebounding team. Interesting. I didn't realize that they're actually a better rebounding team than I thought. They're 67th in rebounding.
No, they're not a great rebounding team. I think
I just keep remembering Gary Parrish saying all in December, UNC they can't get a rebound. Their leading rebounder is 6'3". No UNC team ever. Roy Williams was so great rebounding at it. And that's just I haven't haven't watched as much North Carolina as I usually do because like the ACC is awful.
Gross.
But
Yep.
Carolina 67th in rebound differential this season. San Diego State 193rd. Mississippi 333rd. However, Mississippi is also 4th in the country in turnover differential and 22nd in the country in shot volume. North Carolina is 255th in the country in shot volume.
All right. Iowa State Lipscomb real quick.
I don't have a ton of thoughts.
Sucks that Gilbert's going to miss the tournament.
Agreed. Iowa State's kind of been trending down for a while now. Obviously, losing Momcilovic hurts in that time frame. And they struggled without him. But they also they've also struggled kind of since he's gotten back to being like they played a couple. They lost to BYU twice. So with him back, they beat Arizona. Yes, they did. But they lost to Houston. They lost to Oklahoma State. They have not been able to recapture the level that they played at early in the season with Milan Momcilovic on the floor. And obviously Gilbert being out is a huge crutch. That guy is one of the best players in the country and just hasn't been playing like it over the last month or so.
Yeah.
I kind of called him out, Gilbert, a couple shows ago because he just wasn't playing particularly well in my eyes. But losing him is huge. I wonder, I'm assuming Lipsy is able to go.
Yeah.
Right? I wonder if
he is capable of taking.
I wonder if putting the ball more back in Lipsy's hands maybe doesn't hurt as much as we would think it does. Because remember, when Lipsy was the primary point guard last year, 29% assist rate, 16% turnover rate. This year, he's been a little bit more off the ball, and he's 18% assist rate, 17% turnover rate. So perhaps getting him back on the ball a lot more will help them.
Yeah, and
again, I think Iowa State beats Lipscomb, definitely for sure. We'll get into later. We might discuss like possible second round matchups on this pod because people will be asking for it. But yeah, that's where we are right now.
All right.
Next game.
Marquette, New Mexico.
Interesting.
Honestly, I haven't thought a ton about this game.
So, Sam, I'm thinking about it now, and I initially picked the Marquette here. Colorado State's really the only team in the Mountain West that has a pulse that also plays something similar to Marquette's 5-out, right? Colorado State does a lot of spread stuff with their bigger guys in the perimeter and stuff like that. At least that's like when I watched them, that's what I noticed.
Utah State does some interesting lineups, but almost always has a big.
Okay, so yeah,
I mean Boise's lineup, like Boise has like a lot of bigs that can do a lot of different things.
So my thing now with New Mexico is, you look at like the teams that kind of had played a similar style to 5-out, and Colorado State, they smoked twice. Utah State, they beat twice. So like they've had success against systems like that this season. Marquette's not super deep. I don't think that's going to be a huge factor in this game. I think
it's been a factor though over the course of the last month or so.
Yeah, I think if they move on, it could be.
No, but like this is a team that I feel like has had some tired legs over the course of the last month of the season, and it has. I remember like first year we did the podcast, I kept making the Shaka Smart's teams always peak in January joke. And like they were 18-3 when January ended. They're 23-10 right now.
Yeah, I think like my initial thought on this was I expect Shaka to have a better game plan than Richard Pitino. The sole reason for the pick.
I get that. I think
I'm really excited just to watch this game play out. These are two these are two teams that are top 15 in the country in turnover differential. They are top 25 in the country in shot volume. I know I'm saying shot volume a lot today, but it's important.
It matters.
It's important to look at. Obviously, Marquette, they spread the floor. New Mexico, they are a super fast-paced offense. And Marquette really wants to grind you down, slow you down on that end of the floor. And I don't think you can kind of do that to Donovan Dent.
No.
I don't think that's an easy thing to do. Especially the way Dent has been playing recently. He's been playing out of his mind recently.
Yeah, and I've been watching a lot of this Marquette team, and I think when you look at some of their games and some of their losses, a lot of it comes down to, I think, the post presence. I mean, Ben Gold is solid. Like he's been a really good player for Shaka Smart all year long, but I think when push comes to shove, when you get them up against, tough big men and tough front courts. Now, I say this team would have been interesting to see play George Mason at the end of non-con instead of the second game of the year, because I would have loved to see how he went up against Jalen Haynes when he got into his own. But you take a look, and Villanova able to beat them on the road by 15, or at home, by 15. You get swept by UConn, swept by St. John's. You lose to Creighton. Those are all squads that have really solid front courts. And I think when you look at New Mexico, it's obviously going to be Dent. That's the main guy. But Nelly Jr. Joseph could cause a lot of issues. I would not be shocked if he was the one to take the reins in this first round game. But I mean, Dent's going to have at least 15. You know that. And it's probably going to be a pretty efficient 15 and a pretty quick 15. But I don't know. I don't trust Marquette a lot in this year's tournament. I don't think that they have. I don't want to say that they don't have the juice, because you can't. You flat out can't say that. I mean, Cam Jones was playing at a National Player of the Year clip for the first 2-3 months of the year, and he really hasn't backed down that much. I mean, you got a lot of really good pieces. It's just completing the puzzle, I think, is the biggest issue. Is playing that full 40. It's playing, to that full capability for, long enough spurts to where teams that might be inferior to you or where you should beat them, where they start to climb back. And I think that's something that Marquette has trouble doing against teams that have equal or comparable talent levels to them. I think that's been the big theme for them this year.
I look at Marquette. I like Shaka. I just think that there comes a point in every year where a lot of the best things that his teams have done kind of start to wear off, and they haven't been playing as great of basketball recently. And I know that's not an indicator. That's not a huge indicator, but like they've gone from 12th in Ken Palm to 28th in a month and a half. New Mexico, they've had some ups, and they've kind of been in this range in Ken Palm, 35, 45 for a little bit of time throughout this month. I think New Mexico has what it takes to not let Marquette's game impact and frustrate them. So I like the Lobos. I don't want to get burned again by the Lobos. I obviously picked them to beat Clemson last year. That was
Ooh, that's a tough one.
that was over before it
PJ
started.
Hall said no, no, no.
That game was over before it started. Moving forward, the 2:15 game is Michigan State and Bryant. This is, I think, the 2:15 game that has the biggest chance of going to the 15. Although I wouldn't, I wouldn't advise picking the 15.
I think it's the biggest thing is because of the size. I mean, Bryant, has. I think they were saying during the America East they're one of the tallest teams in the country.
They are.
So
I mean, look, 6'6", 6'6", 6'5", 6. Sorry, wait, no. Earl and Rafael Pinzon are 6'6". Withers and Evans are 6'8". Mitchell is 6'11". So that's their starting five, and then you've got Ja'Kai Robinson at 6'5", Kayvon Kramer at 6'7". Bryant's not a very deep team.
No,
they are, but they dominated the America East this year. That was their league.
It's also because they play fast. You have speed and you have size. I mean,
they were just so much more athletic than everyone else in that conference that it gave everyone problems. They won the conference tournament games by 11, 13, and 18. Not quite as dominant as what we've seen from Vermont in the past, but they really dominated that league this year. They play but the problem is I don't like betting on a super fast paced mid major against a team that's going to have more talent than it. And Bryant has more talent than most America East teams to come to this level, but they're still a 15 seed for a reason. Michigan State has seen teams as athletic as the Bulldogs. They've seen big teams. They've been able to deal with this stuff all year. Yeah. So I like Michigan State in this matchup. But don't be surprised if Bryant gives them a nice battle for a little bit.
Yeah, I made the mistake of picking Mississippi State last year, and my buddy is a big Tom Izzo truther, and he was giving me crap for it all of last year. So Kevin, this pick is for you, Michigan State. But yeah, don't count out Phil Martelli though. He's been doing an incredible job.
Definitely not counting out Phil Martelli Jr. I think that is a coach on the rise. He's
jump seat this year.
Excellent job with that program over the last 2 years since he got the full-time job. Last year was the highest that Bryant had ever finished in Ken Pom. This year they finished even higher. So 2 20-win seasons for Phil Martelli Jr. Really nice stuff. He's gonna have to reload next year though, because he's gonna lose a lot.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Really fascinated to see how what Bryant does in the future, but those are my picks for this region. I've got Auburn, Creighton, UC San Diego, Yale, Mississippi, Iowa State, New Mexico, and Michigan State. Jonathan, we just finished going over the first round games in the South region. So just run down who you have winning each of the first round games in the South region.
Right now, Auburn, Creighton, UCSD, Texas A&M, winner of San Diego State, UNC, Iowa State, Marquette, Michigan State.
All right. Shall we move east? Wait, CJ.
Yeah.
Read down your picks.
I got Auburn, Louisville, UCSD, A&M, Ole Miss, Iowa State, New Mexico, and Michigan State.
All right. American and Mount St. Mary's, as we discussed with Coach Lind. American is unique for what the Mount sees, and honestly, the Mount's pretty unique for what American sees. So I don't think either of these teams have seen teams like the opponent in a while, at the very least. These two teams played last season. It was a really close game. It was 68-65 American won. But obviously, different coach at Mount St. Mary's, different team at Mount St. Mary's. Americans had mostly the same team, which is pretty impressive. Obviously, Patriot League retains a ton of talent.
Mhm.
But start with Duke is going to beat either of those teams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No need to dive into that.
Duke could play blindfolded.
This should be a good get right game though.
Okay, actually no, they couldn't play blindfolded. They could they could play. What's the handicap that they could win with? In
If
this
Duke
game?
players were only allowed to use their non-dominant hand, could they win?
That's tough. No, that's tough. I think if they were wearing gloves, like wearing like batting gloves.
Okay.
Interesting.
But,
Duke,
yeah,
Get come on some sticky gloves and he'll throw it on so many lobs.
yeah.
The ball would get he wouldn't be able. He would get hurt because he would dunk the ball, and then the ball would stick in his hand.
Yeah,
and he would fall off the rim.
Now the issue would be getting it caught on the rim. That's the scary part. But yeah, I think that's a great get right game for Flag, especially if he's not 100% yet.
If he's not 100%, do you think he plays?
I a little bit, maybe 5-10 minutes.
Jonathan, what do you think?
he's gonna play.
Because like you can't expect him to go all right, and that kind of segues into the next game. But like you can't expect him to go right into an 8-9 second round game without having played in a couple of weeks or in like a week or two.
It's
Like
11-11 and there's still no college basketball crown bracket.
we need to call up Ja Rule. Where's Firefest this year?
WNIT field has been announced. Let's take a look. Siena. Shout out Siena.
Wow. 48 teams for the WNIT. Wow.
Dude, Rutgers went 11-19. Why are they in this? This is gross.
My goodness.
Let's keep going, Sam.
Rutgers went 11-19, and their best player has had 2 feet in the portal since December. Dude, a 15-18 team from the WCC. What is happening here? We do not need this tournament.
This is a different kind of madness I did not sign up for.
Mississippi State Baylor.
I don't trust Mississippi State. In the games that I've seen from them, I don't know. I don't know how much juice they have to go against so much like the talent of Baylor. I also really, really do like what Scott Drew has built there with the freshman class this year. I think that they have a lot of great pieces. Obviously, they don't have the results. They didn't do too hot during conference play, but I think both of these squads have been in the same kind of spot in terms of they have the talent and they have the pieces and they have some quality wins, but it's just not enough to like really be moved in either direction. But I like Rob Wright a lot. I like VJ Edgecombe a lot. I like the two of them together a lot. I think they come out of this one.
I think Matthews can do a really good job on Edgecombe, but I think that Baylor will have ways to get Matthews off of Edgecombe for certain possessions, and I think Rob Wright is built for tournament basketball. I don't think. Yeah. I think he is such a well-rounded offensive guard, more well-rounded offensively than Hubbard is, and Hubbard's an awesome player, but I think Wright is going to have a really nice day in this ball game. I think Baylor can do enough creatively to not let Matthews take over the game defensively. And honestly, I have some scars from Mississippi State picking them last year.
Yeah. But you want to talk about Rob Wright in the playoffs? Sam, we were talking at the MAC tournament about the PCL basketball. Rob Wright, Newman Goretti, played X Brown and Roman Catholic.
Yeah, those were some battles.
So I mean, he's built for it. If there's anything that can prep you for March Madness basketball, high level March basketball, I think it's playing it at the Palestra in the PCL finals.
Just ask Colin Gillespie.
Exactly.
God, this is we have gone over the limit of PCL mentions.
Too many?
Yes, 2 is too many. 1 is enough. To be fair, we did once have to delay the start of a show due to the Maine high school basketball state championship game going into overtime.
Yeah, whatever.
Jonathan?
Yeah, nothing that, you guys haven't already said. I think that Matthews on Edgecombe matchup is a good one for Miss State. And, I don't really think that Baylor has the horses to be able to stop Hubbard from getting going. We're just going to have to hope he misses some shots.
So you have Mississippi State.
Yeah.
All right. Oregon and Liberty. I'm going to have to look into this matchup because, Liberty's got some really, really good numbers in certain places. But neither of these teams are big on shot volume stuff, but Liberty second in the country in three-pointers made differential. If you look at their 3-point percentage, that would indicate that they are the number 5 3-point shooting offense, number 3 3-point defense in the country. They take a lot of threes. They don't allow a lot of threes, but they do that. They space the floor. They don't grab rebounds because they don't grab offensive rebounds because they're just all out on the perimeter hitting shots. And I think that's an interesting matchup against Oregon. I'm just not sure that. I think Oregon's athletic enough, and they have size on the inside that they can make this. That they can take advantage of some matchups in this game.
And for a team that shoots as much as Liberty does, you'd think that they'd be able to get it done at the free throw line, but they're dead last.
Odd. That is one of the oddest things.
It's very weird, and that's something. If you're a 12,
it's because the 2 guys who get to the free throw line, Zach Cleveland and Owen Aquino, are their non-shooters. Those are the 2 guys that get to the line because those are the 2 guys that
play in the paint,
that go inside.
Yeah, and also you want to take a look because this is another weird combination of stats. They are 349th in the country in bench minutes, but 342nd in 2 foul participation. So they're not going to let guys stay out there, but they're also not going to sub guys out a ton. So if you're Oregon, you want to get Liberty in foul trouble quickly because then you're putting in guys that haven't seen the floor in a bit or don't normally see the floor. That's going to be an interesting chess match. And Dana Altman, I think as soon as the calendar flips to March, Dana Altman is one of those, handful of coaches that kind of flips a switch and he just becomes, something changes with his squads. And I think this year's rendition, everyone remembers, the squads last year and their, the run in the Pac-12 tournament. This year it's much different. But I think the emergence of TJ Bamba this year was a nice welcome for Ducks fans after his tough year last year at Villanova. Jackson Shellstad has been as advertised. Nathan Biddle's been really good. I have a lot of faith in this Oregon team. I think that they can handle such a fast-paced hot-handed Liberty team. But I think they have the tools that they need to do it.
Yeah, with this Oregon team, it's weird because Oregon's one of those teams that, like their metrics aren't great and, they haven't, played super well down the stretch. Like, I mean, they won a lot of games to end the regular season, but none of them were against teams that were very good, except for that Wisconsin one. But, they lost a bunch of games to like good teams in the middle of this season. They don't, pop out on the page to you when you look at them. But I do think that in this matchup, Oregon has length and guys that can switch on guards like Evans and Bamba, even Brandon Angel. And I think for that reason, like Oregon can probably give Liberty some troubles and run them off the line a bit more than Liberty wants to. So I'm going Oregon here.
Yeah, I went Oregon. Arizona and Akron. I feel like this is cruel for Akron. Akron's
really just too small. Like they don't. I don't think that they'll play very well in this setting.
It's not like it's just not good for them. Arizona is physical. They're big. Arizona's going to get whatever it wants down low.
And it's not like Akron, is like small and gritty either. They're small and they don't defend.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they were the number 2 defense in their conference, but like
that's not saying much.
No, at a national level, they do not defend.
Yeah, they play fast. They shoot a ton of threes.
They're like
they allowed 87 points to St. Mary's.
They're like the anti-recipe to pulling an upset.
Yeah,
and there's nothing wrong like with Akron doing what it does at the MAC. They went 17-1. They beat they also beat a good South Alabama team in the MAC Sun Belt Challenge. They beat Omaha, who's in the NCAA tournament. They beat Alabama State, who's in the NCAA tournament. They pushed Arkansas State to overtime, who came very close to the NCAA tournament. But just 28-6. It's going to be 28-7.
Yeah. I don't have anything else to add. I think Arizona just takes it over. I'm expecting a big game out of Trey Townsend. I need some big news out of March Madness legend, Oakland legend, Trey Townsend.
Townsend has not been awesome for most of the year, but he had a solid Big 12 tournament. I think that he's going to. I think that this is a good matchup for him for sure.
Yeah, and this is again. I said it before with the Duke game. This is a get right game. If you're Arizona and you want to go on a deep run, you need to make sure, king of CTE shots himself, Caleb Love, and
yeah. How do we not mention Caleb Love as a CTE?
Yeah,
Caleb Love, Caleb Love was getting hate on this podcast 4 years ago for taking CTE shots.
Yeah, and that's fine.
We celebrate Caleb Love Day every year on May 24th.
And listen, that's okay, but you need to have some more, versatility in the offensive end if you're Arizona. And Tommy Lloyd helps with that, but with his schemes and his adjustments. But I think the biggest thing is going to be trying to get Trey Townsend going, because that was honestly when he committed to Arizona, that was my biggest thing. I was like, oh my goodness, they got a massive front court piece, and I've been waiting for him to try and show what he's capable of, because we know what he's capable of, but he hasn't been able to this year. I think this is a game that if he gets going, Arizona could be a really dangerous team.
Oregon, Arizona in the second round. Obviously, we're not picking that right now, but
Pac-12.
That makes me feel good. We get a Pac-12 matchup. That would we need some Pac-12 action in there. The old conferences. I miss it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That could be an after dark game too. Possibly.
Ooh, Seattle. Yeah.
Out in Seattle. Yeah, absolutely.
Move down. BYU, VCU. I have this game starred. We discussed this a little bit already. CJ, I know you have thoughts.
I do. I want to hear your guys' thoughts first, because I don't want to repeat anything, but I want to hear what you guys.
Okay. So both of these teams are definitely unique in their own ways. BYU, kind of the NBA free flow offense, but they can still go to and they use Kaita and Traore in interesting ways that you don't typically see with NBA style offenses. But overall, I think VCU is just built for a tournament setting defensively. They have so many different bodies that they can throw out there and give you really awesome defense. They can throw out a whole bunch of dudes in that front court, a whole bunch of dudes in that back court, and they're all super disruptive. They can all guard. They can all wall off. They can all make plays on the defensive end, and they have the playmakers on offense as well. I think VCU is really built for this type of setting. They played really good basketball down the stretch of the season. They had a fun A10 final today. Jack Clark had a big game. We named this podcast named Jack Clark the A10 Defensive Player of the Year a couple days ago, correct?
Yeah, we did.
Jack Clark has been awesome this year.
I think that in VCU's case,
the thing about VCU, there's a whole bunch of guys that you can say are the best defender on this team.
Yeah.
Jack Clark might not even Jack Clark's awesome. He might not even be the best defender on this team.
BYU's system, an NBA style system like that is very much based on reading stuff. You're not set up in your offense to throw the ball to one place or to one place. It's a lot of reading which way guys are cutting and moving off of certain actions and stuff like that. I think it's really tough to kind of make reads like that when a team pressures the ball like VCU does,
especially when a team not just pressures the ball but just has arms everywhere.
And they'll deny really, really hard. So I think this is a tough matchup for BYU. I like this team. I have liked this team all year. Wouldn't shock me one bit if they won. But I think this matchup favors VCU. VCU is not a super deep team, but their guys are built to play 40 minutes, and we've seen it all year.
VCU is also, their guys they're not as incredibly deep, but everyone that does play can give them a lot of really good minutes.
Even Philip Russell, who's not a great defender, he'll still be feisty on that end.
VCU also 15th in shot volume this year. Just a team that also third in the country in 3-point attempt differential. They are also the number one effective field goal percentage defense in all of college basketball, tied with Tennessee.
And I do love me some Jack Clark.
Yeah,
I'm in on this VCU team. I like Ryan Odom. I like Max Shulga. I think he's been one of the more underrated players in the country the last couple of years.
This VCU team is a top 25 team in the country, and I feel incredibly confident saying that. I think the championship today was just icing on the cake for if people have never seen VCU play basketball before, because this team has come so far since Charleston that it's like a night and day. This is not the same team that lost to Seton Hall in Charleston, not even close. I think Max Shulga has finally.
The game was very close. It came down to the very end.
It did. David Tubeck is now the Lord and Savior of South Orange, New Jersey.
That was the Chauncey Jenkins legacy game.
Yeah, before he. We're not going to go there.
Before he became bad at basketball
and got hurt for the last 2 months of the year.
I wasn't noticing him much before he got hurt either.
But
he had that one dunk against Rutgers, and I'm pretty sure
he did. And then I thought we were going to win.
I was at that game. I don't think he did anything else the rest of the game.
No.
And then I was at the Georgetown game, and he was awful.
Yeah. Well, that Georgetown.
Anyway, way too much Seton Hall talk for.
Too much Seton Hall for me. I can't do this anymore.
This is the NCAA tournament here. This is the NCAA tournament.
We're trying to have
real basketball. But seriously though, this is a team that has finally found their identity, and credit to them because they staved off, the George Mason team that was hungry for revenge at a neutral site, and they did a good job of defending some of the most unique players in college basketball. There was remember the Jaylen Brown quote, I think he said, when he was talking about how he defends and how every player has a different rhythm. I think one of the most unique players with a rhythm is Darius Maddox, and every single guard on VCU made sure that he couldn't go anywhere tonight. Like it was insane to watch. And I mean, obviously, you talk about Jack Clark. How many blocks? He had 3 blocks. Bamboye had 4 blocks today. Like the rim protection for this team is so elite that like this is a team that has very few weaknesses. All right, cool. You're not going to be able to get a 3-point shot off because they're going to be in your face the entire time. The only issue would be if they try and collapse on big men or drivers, or if they try and double. That's the only issue. But again, they're so strong, they're so fast, and they're so long that they can get out to anyone on the perimeter. The offense, I mean, you don't need too much when you have Joe Bamisiel and Max Scholger running your offense. I mean, those guys can get the shot whenever they want it. And yeah, I think the only issue is their rebounding, which like even then like really isn't that big of an issue. I mean, honestly, they're 12th in the conference, or 12th in the country, excuse me, in offensive rebounding percentage. So they're able to get their boards whenever they need to. But this is a team with very few flaws, and I could see them going. I don't want to talk too far, but I really, really, really like this VCU team. I think they have a really high ceiling in this tournament.
All right. Jonathan, who do you have in this game?
In the VCU BYU game?
Yes.
VCU.
Yeah, I think we all have VCU. Wisconsin and Montana. Montana is not a team that I've watched a ton this year. I know that they have a really electric offense, that they have guards that can really go. But outside of that, Wisconsin should be able to take care of business here.
Yeah, I agree.
It might be high. It might be pretty high scoring. This might be a pretty high scoring game, but Wisconsin should be able to take care of business. This game doesn't. And honestly, with Wisconsin, I like Wisconsin. I didn't expect to say this much this in the off season, but I did like. I did like what I saw from Wisconsin throughout the year. Tanji and Blackwell are a duo of guards that I think are unique to prepare for, because not a lot of teams have that level of dynamism from guys that size, and 2 of them. But I wouldn't go as far as say they're like a straight up unique team, like what you see out of. But it's different from what you see most places. So I like Wisconsin against Montana. I don't think Montana is going to get a stop.
Yeah, I don't see. Yeah, it's going to be tough. Montana is more of that offensive focus. Joe Pridgeon. This is also a really small Montana team. I mean, their main big is Joe Pridgeon is only 6'5".
Thinking of Joe Pridgeon as a big just blows my mind.
Because he was first team all conference. He plays well, but he's just not.
My mind to think of him as a big. He was literally a point guard, like a point guard 2 guard at Northeastern.
Yeah, no, they play really, really small. Travis DeCure, I mean, he had those boys playing, but again, love the Big Sky, but they're not, really building for a March Madness run. So John Tonge is one of those guys that I sadly have not gotten to see a ton of this year. I wish I did, because I mean, he is the numbers that he puts up. He was on my fantasy basketball team actually. But the numbers that he puts up and the quality of his play, just from hearing it and seeing some clips here and there, is incredibly impressive. And
yeah, I mean, they took a guy who was committed to New Mexico and turned him into and he was an All-American.
Yeah, I think that he has the capability to, if no one else will, lead his squad. And that's like the big thing that Wisconsin can hang their hat on.
I'm not worried about Wisconsin in this first round matchup.
No, definitely not.
In terms of the 3-14 matchups, I think Montana is clearly the worst 14 seed, like a good deal worse than the other three. So good draw for the Badgers, despite having to go out to Denver, not being able to play in Milwaukee, which they did a couple years ago and lost to Iowa State, who does get to play in Milwaukee. But we'll move on. St. Mary's and Vanderbilt. This is a game that I have starred as do a lot more research, look into it more. But this should be fun.
Fast versus slow. I think one of the most fascinating games of the first round, just because of the contradiction of styles. I trust St. Mary's to be able to slow it down more than for Vanderbilt's speed to kill St. Mary's. Like, I think St. Mary's gets killed by teams with athleticism. While Vandy's fast, I don't think they're athletic. And
they have some athletic pieces. I don't think they are. I don't think they can
like
overwhelm
super athletic in like the spots you need to be to give St. Mary's problems. Like Grand Canyon's wings last year were super athletic, and that was a problem.
And they could also score at a really high level.
Mm-hmm. Like I don't think that like the pieces Vanderbilt has that are their athletic pieces are the ones that are going to, be the ones that give St. Mary's problems.
I agree. I think St. Mary's, they're always well prepared, well coached. And I think this is going to be a really fun coaching matchup as well. Mark Byington is on the rise, obviously, and Randy Bennett is Randy Bennett. St. Mary's, by the way, number 1 in the country in rebound differential. They're the number 2 offensive rebounding team in the sport, behind only Texas A&M. They're the number 11 defensive rebounding team in the sport. They also have something this year that they haven't had, and that's a guy that comes off the bench and will come in for 10 minutes and score 12 points. Come in for 15 minutes, score 15 points. Come in for 28 minutes, score 19 points. And in Mikey Lewis, I know he hasn't been playing particularly well recently, but I think that he's going to have a good NCAA tournament for this St. Mary's team.
Yeah. I have to do more research on this game as well, but my gut, it really all depends on. I don't know if it's just SEC fever, and they're Vanderbilt's one of the only teams in just because they're kind of riding the coattails of some of these other really good SEC teams. Obviously, they have their wins. They had that 3-game stretch of wins over Mississippi A&M and Missouri in overtime, but man, there's just too much red in on this KenPom page. I mean, you're giving up almost 37% from 3. You're getting blocked on almost 12% of your attempts. I mean, you're playing really fast, which unless you're elite at playing very fast, it's not very fast, but like unless you're elite at playing at a faster pace in the tournament, it's not normally going to work out. But I mean, my gut's just telling me. And I don't know if it's just because of last year with St. Mary's, but I don't know. I have the Commodores now, but that's a very loose pick right now.
And then Alabama, Robert Morris. Shout out Robert Morris for an awesome season, obviously. It ends against Alabama.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Yeah, not much more to go in.
Roll Tide.
Shout out to SIUE. Actually, let's run down our picks for that region. Duke, Baylor, Oregon, Arizona, VCU, Wisconsin, St. Mary's, Alabama.
I have Duke, Miss State, Oregon, Arizona, VCU, Wisconsin, St. Mary's, Bama.
Duke, Baylor, Oregon, Arizona, VCU, Wisconsin, Vanderbilt, Alabama.
All right.
I'll be gone for a couple minutes while you guys start the next region.
Okay. I'm excited to start this region. We're going to talk a little bit about Houston because I feel like people have kind of forgotten.
Oh, yippee.
About
LJ Crier. LJ Crier.
Yeah, I just want to like go into some detail about the Cougars because Houston is number three in KenPom. I haven't looked at anybody's brackets, honestly. Like I don't know what people are picking, but I feel like nobody's talked about Houston in a long time.
No. They're much.
Houston-
This is a much quieter Houston team
is
than last year, especially.
26-1 since December 7th. They've lost one game since December started. Yes, and that one game was in overtime by 1 to a team that is a 3 seed. Yeah, a 3 seed.
Yeah.
I like this Houston team because the one my big obviously concern is Juwan Roberts' health. He is so important to what they do. Obviously, they have other guys in that front court that are tremendous. JoJo Tugler was our National Defensive Player of the Year on this podcast, but Juwan Roberts was in the conversation for that as well. Looks like Juwan Roberts says that he'll be ready to go in the first round of the NCAA tournament as Houston takes on SIUE. That's huge. That's huge because he's not just turned into one of the best defenders in the country, but he's been a much better offensive player this year than he has been in past years. Been able to rely on him a little bit more. And Milo Suzanne has gotten so much better since the year started that he's now just straight up really darn good. I think we named him to an all Big 12 team on this podcast a couple last week when we did this. He scored 25 points in the Big 12 title game when they beat Arizona.
Yeah, I think when I watch this Houston team, obviously, if you're just looking at pure numbers, obviously the 3-point shooting is going to stand out to you. But I think they have so many guys that can get buckets in so many different ways. And obviously the coveted, defense, Kelvin Sampson blitzing the ball screens. I forget, it's not blitzing. I think they call it something else because of how aggressive it is. I was watching a video on that. I forget what they call it exactly, but like that's the way they play. They have guards that are smart enough to use their bodies right on the defensive end. They have bigs that are fast enough and quick enough to recover. They have guys that are so connected on the defensive end. Like the way that they play defense is so difficult. I don't think people realize how difficult it is to, send your 5 all the way out to half court to blitz a ball screen and then, have a help side wing guy try and tag the roller. And then, all right, ball gets swung and communicate. Like that's such a
if it were easy to do, everyone would do it.
Oh yeah.
Because if it were easy to play defense the way Houston plays defense, everyone would play defense like Houston plays defense because Houston plays defense better than basically anybody in the sport. And that's been the case for a long time now. The Cougars have such great athletes that can protect the rim, that can get out on screens, that can defend anywhere on the floor. And then their wings are absolute dogs, like just dogs.
The one-on-one defending is it's literally an island. It's like having 2 elite cornerbacks in the NFL. Like you're just on an island. You have no help.
Christian Gonzalez and Travis Hunter.
I prefer Tariq Woolen and Shnikes. Devin Witherspoon.
So you can't even remember the corners on your own.
I couldn't. No, I'm so Sam,
So
I've been so locked in on basketball for the last 2 weeks.
I've been locked in on basketball for the last couple of years. So
yeah, I mean it's actually hurting my brain now. It's harming it. It's very difficult.
Something that Jim Root mentioned on the pod last year when we brought him on was that going from playing against any other team in the country to going to then play against Houston, like you don't realize it until you're out there. And then going from playing against Houston to playing against anyone else, it's like, oh wait, like I don't have an arm inside my.
It's like I can breathe now.
Inside my hip and in my face at every moment of every game. I don't have three bodies surrounding me, and then there's Houston. The way Houston plays defense, it feels like there's like
10 guys
8,
on the floor.
It feels like they're playing with 8 guys or 9 guys because they're everywhere. And I think it's really hard. The teams that can exploit Houston are the ones with obviously if you just are somehow able to shoot the lights out, yes, but also if you have bigs that are really comfortable passing the ball quickly, that is a way to get past what Houston does. It's really difficult to do.
And I'm looking at this part of the bracket, and I mean, there's not many that there. You talk about the bigs. I don't think there's many bigs that can really do that. I'm looking at Ike out of Gonzaga.
Newell does a lot of really interesting stuff at Georgia, and we'll get into that later. But I actually want to talk about the Gonzaga Georgia game because I think this is the type of game that I almost called him Andrew Ryan Nembhard can just have an absolute field day in. Georgia's a good defensive team. They are, but I think that the way that they defend will the aggressive nature of their defense is something that Nembhard has seen at every different level. I don't think that, and they have good defenders. I don't think that they are good enough on the perimeter defensively compared to some of the other teams to just stop Nembhard like that. And also, it's Gonzaga in the first round. It's Mark Few against Mike White. Gonzaga is 9th in KenPom, and they are an 8 seed. I've not been huge on Gonzaga this year, but I don't feel comfortable picking against Gonzaga in round 1 like ever.
Yeah,
we're at a point now where the Zags, I mean, they're a 6-point KenPom favorite in an 8-9 game against a good SEC team.
Yeah, and we were talking about this a little bit before we came on, where people are always doubting this Gonzaga team. I think about last year.
I've been down on Gonzaga over the last 2 years, I think. Actually, and
it's not unwarranted.
It took a little bit of time for me to really get down on Gonzaga this year, but last year I was down on Gonzaga the whole year, and then I still picked them to go to 16.
Well, and you have to, because Mark Few has that ability. You can't bet against Mark Few.
One sec. Did I pick them or did I pick Kansas? I don't remember. I didn't like that Kansas team either.
I didn't either. That's why I picked Samford.
Oh, I was okay. I had Gonzaga. Oh yeah, I had that entire region correct on every game until the Elite Eight.
Yeah. I don't think that there's a world where you can say with 100% certainty, or even like 70% certainty, that Mark Few will lose a first round game in the NCAA tournament, just because of the nature of him and his staff and the way that they build their squad. I think this year, these last 2 years for Gonzaga basketball have been so different just because of, just the shifting landscape. They used to be able to keep their guys for all 4 years. You think of like the Drew Timme years, and bring in some really high level, recruits. Now they got to go to the portal, so it's a little bit different. But I still think that this is a roster that has enough talent to make a run. I mean, you have Nembhard, Ike Battle has been playing solid and is an elite free throw shooter, which you definitely need going down the stretch in some of these really close games. I mean, this is one of the best offensive teams in the country. They're second in the country in points a game. They are third in field goal percentage. They're shooting the ball at a 50% clip.
Yeah, this is the Gonzaga. We know Gonzaga can score. This has always been But like they're ninth offensively. They don't turn it over because they have such elite point guard play with them hard. And
that's what you're going to need if you want to. Now, obviously, the defense is going to have to step up, but I feel like defense, it's easier to step up than, trying. I think because
I think you're just trying to. I think you're. I'm gonna. If I'm gonna be honest with you, I think you're just talking right now. I don't think you understand the words that are coming out of your mouth.
It's a little bit, but I don't know.
It's that sports radio. It's that sports radio thought. We gotta where you don't
listen. It's 11:50 right now. I've been it was an early morning this morning. Long NJ Transit ride back up to.
I slept like 3 hours.
That's true. I can't be saying that to you. You sicko. But no, I understand what you mean.
I
just really like this Gonzaga team, and I'm trying to rationalize it.
I don't want to start. I don't want to start Clemson McNeese without Jonathan. Let me text him. Sorry for the bad podcasting right now. But speaking of Gonzaga last year, I don't remember if a lot of people picked McNeese to beat them, but that was not going to happen. McNeese was.
No.
McNeese
I think it was a very popular pick.
Living last year, being more athletic than everyone in the Southland, and I do think overall that this McNeese team is good. They're very good. I also think that this Clemson team is very good.
Yeah.
And I think that they have two guards that can operate elite levels out of ball screens. And if McNeese comes out with the same approach to last year against Gonzaga, where they if McNeese comes out with the same approach as they did last year against the Zags, and they just try and trap everything, this Clemson team is really unselfish. They don't. Their assist numbers actually aren't as high as I thought they would be, but I've seen them pass. I've seen this team make extra passes over the course of the year at a really high rate. They have two bigs that can both make skip passes in Shefflin and Locken. I mean, Chase Hunter's only a 15% assist rate. Zachary's only 16% assist rate, but we know both of those guys can operate ball screens at a really high level. I mean, and then the bigs can completely take Shoemate. I think that these bigs can take Shoemate out of this game. And McNeese hasn't played a team that ranks higher than 166th in KenPom since December 14th. Like, obviously that's Southland Conference play. But that, like, they've been what they do works in the Southland. What they do, I don't know if what they do works when you translate it up a level, even though they're athletic. They are an athletic team. Joe Charles was a guy that I marked down in the portal as someone who would be a huge impact piece for them. And I thought somebody that could help them in a game like this. But at the end of the day, I still think that a lot of the same issues with McNeese come up to the plate.
Yeah,
and I'm gonna let Jonathan chime in on that when he comes back, whenever that is. Yeah. God, he's been out for a while, it feels like.
Yeah. You think it's me? Is it something I said?
No, he's got to do some stuff.
I got you.
And then, I don't want to do Purdue High Point without him either, because I know he has interesting thoughts on that.
I also will say they opened the year with a loss to South Dakota State, which is tough. Louis
that
Liberty.
was a fun game. I remember that opening night.
That whole event was really cool.
It was.
It was a bad omen for St. Louis that night, but it was a really cool event.
Oh man, with Robbie going down.
Yeah.
That was brutal.
Yep. But great stuff. Not Robbie going down, but the event.
I mean the event itself. Yeah, I wonder why you thought it was a good event.
Hey, I that was before I even got that was before. So that's completely unbiased. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think this McNeese team can.
This is terrible
they just can't.
podcasting. This is terrible podcasting. Screw you, Jonathan. We're moving on. Purdue High Point. I know you picked High Point in this one.
I'm going back and forth. I'm gonna stick with High Point just because I know what Purdue can do, and I know how good. I mean, obviously Braden Smith. Here we go.
All right, Jonathan. We just talked. We talked about Houston. We talked Georgia Gonzaga. We talked Clemson McNeese. Now
them hard against that Georgia blitz is gonna be great.
Them hard against Georgia's aggressive.
Yeah, and then I kind of think that Gonzaga's probably a good matchup with Houston, for that matter. But not saying
we're not
getting there yet.
We will do second round after the show.
Yeah, and then the other one is McNeese is still a turnover reliant defense, just like they were last year, and Hunter and Zachary do a great job against pressure and are really good with ball screen offense. And I just think that McNeese is so good in conference because they're so much more athletic than everyone else in that league, and they are more skilled, I think, this year than they were a year ago. But Clemson's bigs are just too physical, and they're probably going to take Shoemate and Charles completely out of the game. So yeah, go on.
All right. So let's talk Purdue High Point. Jonathan, I know you picked High Point.
I did. And I think I'm honestly going to stick to it. This is not one that I'm, really considering changing. High Point spreads the floor. I think, those driving lanes are going to be open for those guards, and Purdue's rim defense is absolutely terrible. And High Point's offense at the rim is very good. I'd like the fact that, High Point has a real big to guard Trakoff and Wren. I don't think you get that with a lot of these mid-majors. So, Purdue obviously has maybe the best guard in college basketball, and it's tough to bet against a guy like that and a coach like Pannard. But I think people kind of have forgotten after last year, the run to the title game, that Purdue has lost in March early a bunch, and I think that with a flawed roster like this that has kind of been showing down the stretch here, they are ripe for the picking.
Yeah. And Purdue has also shown its ability, even with all the talent. I mean, they've dropped some bad ones they haven't really, played in conference as well as they probably should be. I also like High Point because I think they're a team that really does fit that mold of, they don't really play too crazy other than their offense is just insane. You don't really need a ton to, if you have a consistently good offense in March, I think it's very easy to catch a Purdue, or, another team that has a lot of talent, but sometimes underperforms. It's so easy to catch them on a bad day. And I think that Purdue is due for another bad day against High Point, especially, they haven't really had the strongest end to the conference schedule. I think that High Point is obviously rolling, through the Big South. They didn't really face any. They had a little bit of adversity against Radford in the semifinals, but I don't know. I think when you have a trio like Gifa, Hamilton, and Williams, all averaging over 13.5 points a game, you only need one of them to go off and the others to just be solid. I think they've got it.
I think, look, High Point is ridiculously talented. They are super deep. They're ridiculously talented for a Big South team. They're super deep. They are amazing offensively. It feels like everybody out there can go crazy on a given day. But come on, this is the 227th ranked defense in the country against freaking Braden Smith and Trey Kaufman-Wren. 2 all Big Ten guys. And the team that made the I know come on. Like,
Sam, you're using logic during March. I don't think that's the
High Point. The best team High Point played this year was North Texas. Like, yes, they won that game, but like the best team they played was North Texas.
Can I use some logic?
Go ahead.
With you here?
Go ahead.
Can I have a reason why Purdue won't play like the 225th ranked defense in this game? They're
not the 225th ranked defense.
Can I get a reason why they won't play like that in this game? Because everything for me points to High Point being able to spread the floor and get to the rim whenever they want.
I just think Purdue is like better than High Point at basketball.
I think most of these higher seeds are better than the team they're playing.
But like, what can High Point? Like, I know Bodo is in there.
No, this is fun. Keep going.
Is Bodo really going to like be the reason why you is Jocelyn Bodo the difference between Purdue and High Point?
What do you mean? Like in the fact that like he's stopping Trey Kaufman-Wren?
What is he doing in this game that is something that obviously he's probably a little bit better as a rim protector. He's a much better rim protector than TKR, but he also hasn't faced a guy like TKR. He hasn't faced a team like Purdue. I don't think that High Point is good enough to beat Purdue. Just straight up. I don't see that. I'm not picking the 227th ranked defense in the country to win a game. Like,
I think that's totally fair.
System play. It's a system play.
System play.
Look,
there's no bracket Bible rule about picking the 225th ranked defense. I'll say that.
Look, as bad as Purdue is defensively, like they're 63rd. Because they were seventh in the Big Ten. Like, that's not that bad.
What are they over the last month?
Oh, probably really bad.
Let's see here. March.
February 1st to now. 153.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, 70 spots higher than High Point.
Yeah, I mean, I think Purdue definitely could be bad enough defensively to lose.
Mm-hmm. I just don't think that the teams the upset teams usually aren't the ones that are heavy slants on one side of the ball, in my eyes.
I understand that, but
St. Peter's,
Kentucky wins that game by 20, 90% of the time, based on the shots they were taking. Kentucky missed so many open shots.
Do they change coaches the next time they play?
Dude, I don't even think that was all about. I mean, obviously Shaw did a great job, but like even then, Cal wins that game 95% of the time. Like, I'm not going out there and saying
me in 2012.
Look. If your argument for why High Point is winning this game is St. Peter's beat Kentucky, obviously that's not your only argument.
No, it's not.
That argument is not valid. Like, that was one of the most absurd basketball games. Like, St. Peter's played their best offensive game of the year, and Kentucky missed a million shots and still scored 80 on an elite defense. I'm not.
All right, let's move on here. That was a good discussion.
Illinois against Texas.
We don't often, disagree like this on the pod, and Sam will probably end up being right because he cooked me last year.
Look, if High Point beats Purdue, I would I would be very surprised. Like, I can't. Like, this is one of those I can't picture it. Like, my brain will not let it compute. That's part of it, and it's also they're 227th in defense.
All right, let's talk about this Illinois Xavier Texas.
I don't like it. I mean, Xavier's been playing better basketball than both of these teams for what, 2 months now?
Yeah.
I know Kevin Sweeney has this whole thing about Illinois where it's like, oh, they just need to be decent shooting. They need to just not be bad shooting the three to win games.
Can't wait for Texas to win the play-in game and then beat Illinois 73-62.
I can't wait for the Illinois. I'm 1-0 according to stat quality.
We'll probably hear that Illinois has some sort of virus after they lose.
Look, this Illinois team, I want I don't know if I would pick Texas to beat them though. I don't think I could get myself to pick Rodney Terry straight up. But Xavier, if Xavier ends up winning that game, which I think they will, I'll definitely pick the Muskies against Illinois.
I think Xavier is going to take it pretty. I don't want to say handily, but I mean, since the start of February, Xavier's the 24th ranked team according to Bart Torvik. So I mean, not only have they been playing their best basketball, but I mean they gave Marquette, who we were lauding over a lot of trouble in the Big East tournament, and I think the roster that Xavier has is so dynamic, and I think Sean Miller has gotten his guys to really buy in, because this is a team that started off rough and hadn't really found their footing. I mean, you think back to the start of Big East play, and they're going against, they had a really rough start to Big East play just because of the competition. They were at UConn, and then they were
without Fremantle.
Yeah, without Fremantle, and they were still playing these games really close.
To be fair, I don't think Fremantle being in that game against UConn would have won them the game, because they just hit a ridiculous amount of shots.
Yeah, I mean, that was just Dante.
To be fair, that's kind of what
going
they
crazy.
Do. Hit crazy shots.
Yeah, and I think they have a really. I think the key word for Xavier is balance, because obviously, yes, you have your Ryan Conwell and your, Dante Maddox, who are going to live from beyond the arc. But I think with McKnight as a solid facilitator, and Fremantle and I mean, Fremantle's all right. He hasn't really been the Fremantle that people thought he was going to be coming back, dominant.
Last couple games, yes, he has been.
But that it took him a little bit to get there.
And he's here.
And he's finally back, which is great news, because when you also combine that with Dalen Swain, who has really emerged this year as an elite, wing in the Big East, I think you have a recipe for a team that, on paper is an upset, but in reality, it's not really that big of an upset.
I think Illinois is probably the most undisciplined team that got a top 6 seed, or maybe even most undisciplined team that got net large. They are so not aware of what their strengths are, and they play so easily to their weaknesses. They're not a good 3-point shooting team, yet they attempt a ton of threes. I don't think they're super well coached in games. I don't think their adjustments are super great, and Xavier is, I think, kind of the opposite. A team that takes very high quality shots, and not saying that Xavier's for sure beating Texas because I truly, have no idea. But I think either Texas or Xavier beats Illinois. I think it's more likely Illinois beats Texas, but Texas is, super athletic and probably could give Jack Ashonis some problems. Like he needs to be non-con Jack Ashonis if they're going to make a run. Otherwise, they're going out early.
Kentucky and Troy is on. That's our next game.
Okay, I actually looked into this one a little more than I initially thought.
We haven't done that yet.
First of all, do we know if Lamont Butler is going to play?
Didn't Pope say that he will?
I think
I think you said that he will.
Okay, so if he's playing, fine. I'll pick Kentucky. Won't think twice about it. But Troy has really good guard play, and especially with Tayton Connerway, a guy who is one of the best passers in the country, but also one of the best at like forcing turnovers in the country. So Lamont Butler needs to play because Kentucky doesn't have a point guard without him. He'll play probably, I would guess, 35 plus minutes in this game because Troy will turn Kentucky over when he's not on the floor.
About Troy. Jonathan and I have been high on this Troy team all year.
Yeah, they were like a borderline top 100 team for me in the preseason.
But they are turnover prone, and it's not. But Kentucky doesn't force a ton of turnovers, and we know that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the more I think of this matchup, it's interesting. I'm gonna need to dive deeper in this.
Yeah, it's I think a matchup that's kind of going under the radar.
Wonder what's gonna happen on the glass.
Can we skip UCLA Utah State?
That game sucks. That game's gonna suck.
I mean, these.
I also agree with your point, Sam. When you're talking about the glass, because I mean, Troy is one of the best offensive rebounding teams in the country. They're 6th in offensive rebounding percentage, but Kentucky is 7th in the country in defensive rebounds per game. So these are two teams that win on the glass.
Troy gets to the line a ton. Kentucky has had some struggles defending the inside.
Hey, Sam.
What?
Any thoughts on Syracuse?
No. CJ doesn't even understand the bit.
It's still good.
Hey, you don't need to understand the bit.
You actually really don't for that one.
Oh man. Everyone say thank you, Eddie Lampkin.
I have no real thoughts on UCLA Utah State, honestly. I'm not going to look into the matchup anymore because I think both these teams are absolutely god awful. UCLA is more talented. I think, they'll be more physical, they're better defensively. So I'll take UCLA.
I second that. I don't have any real thoughts on this. I just don't think
UCLA. Utah State's a dead body.
UCLA is like complaining about time zones constantly, and Utah State hasn't looked good in 2 months. All right. Sam, Tennessee, Wofford, anything? Dude, this comment section is amazing right now.
I mean, I don't know. Is Wofford gonna have the same shooting performance it did the last time it played an SEC team in the tournament?
Well, one of the best shooters of all time, going 0 for 9 was certainly something.
Number 2 3-point shooting team in college basketball shoots 8 for. It was 0 for 12, by the way.
Oh, it was 0 for 12.
It was 0 for 12.
No Kevin Willard
Like,
messed that up this time.
he was 7 for 12 against Seton Hall and then 0 for 12. Man, I loved that Wofford team. They were so fun. But they were never beating that Kentucky team. It was never going to happen. Pre-COVID Cal was never going to lose to Wofford.
Pre-COVID Cal.
Tell my grandkids about pre-COVID Cal.
Yes, you should. You should tell your grandkids about pre-COVID Cal. Pre-COVID Cal was really good. Right from that time that.
Yeah, Chaz Lanier, bottom text. Tennessee moves.
I don't really have anything else to add.
Yeah.
Finally, let's get into the West region, the final region. We are over 2 hours into this.
Bang.
Pre-COVID Cal was buying players before anyone else.
He's ahead of the curve.
Not wrong. All right. Florida over Norfolk.
Unfortunately, Rob Jones isn't getting the job done.
Okay, does anyone have any actual thoughts on UConn, Oklahoma, besides the fact we think one team is a corpse and one team has upside?
UConn has looked like a corpse at times this year too.
That's
though.
true, but
but not recently.
This is such a coaching mismatch that I don't need to think twice about it.
UConn lost the only game it played against. I mean, the Marquette game was a big one, but Ken Palm says this is 52%. I think UConn might be people like I think 78,000% of the money is going to be on UConn in this game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I can't line has what did the line open at for this one?
Do we think there's some matchup advantage here, or
I genuinely
don't think
couldn't tell
Oklahoma
you.
really does anything spectacularly.
I mean, Oklahoma's problem, when we looked at their roster in the preseason, and it's still been a problem throughout the year, is they don't have bigs. Wog isn't very good. He does some things, but he does other things really badly.
And Terrace has been playing so well.
Godwin has been hurt. He's had Godwin got hurt. Is Godwin going to be able to play?
Coaching mismatch and one team relying heavily on a reclass freshman point guard. That's all I really.
Hassan Diarra, two-time. So you've got two-time national champion, fifth-year point guard guarding reclass freshman point guard who hit a freshman wall in conference play.
Mm-hmm.
How's that going to go?
Yeah. Was Porter Moser's sister Jean Merchant?
Hey, shout out Porter Moser for making the NCAA tournament with Oklahoma. Only took him 4 seasons of being on the bubble every single day.
Every season for Oklahoma under Porter Moser has been exactly the same.
Oh man.
Yep.
All right.
Unfortunately, I have to cheer against my Lord and Savior, Duke Miles.
Yeah.
If High Point had Duke Miles, maybe I'd pick them. He's not been very good this year, at least compared to how good I thought he would be. But he's had some good moments. He's not been very good recently. Early in the season, he was awesome. Recently, he has not been excellent. Bryson Goodine is playing in this game. That's a Syracuse legend, a MAC legend as well.
Is he more of a Syracuse legend than Kyle Cuff is?
Good question.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, UConn, I don't think that the one thing I will say about Fears in this game is he does get to the line a lot. He does put a lot of pressure on the rim.
Mm-hmm.
And UConn has had the foul issues all year. So it's certainly something to think about. But I mean, Caravan is back. I know he didn't play well against Creighton, but he played well. He played really well against Nova, against Seton Hall, against Marquette, against Providence. He was very good. It's Caravan's back with the way with how good Caravan can be. UConn is probably a little better than an 8 seed. They've been bad this year, straight up at times. Man, that Maui trip has aged horribly.
Only what, one of those games now is like considered a okay loss.
Memphis is 51st, Colorado 81st, Dayton 74th.
That Dayton one really aged.
I mean, they were never winning that game. They were never going to win that game. They were never going to go after 2 losses and wake up for that game at 11:30 Eastern or whatever, like 4:30 Hawaii time.
Yeah, that's just a rough.
I didn't even make it to the end of that game. I made it to the end of the Syracuse Chaminade game last year.
Pirates are playing them next year.
Memphis, Colorado State.
Can I start on this?
Go ahead. Just give me a second.
I have Colorado State written down here on my bracket. I think I'm changing that. Like, I know Colorado State's favored, and I know, like, Memphis has played terrible in conference play. But Memphis always plays terrible in conference play. And, like, I've been saying for the past month that, like, I'll probably pick Memphis to win their first round game anyway because, like, those metrics aren't real. Like, they play so much better when the games are actually important to them. And they never take conference play seriously. I mean, their NCAA tournament results are like they should have beaten a team that went to the Final Four. They blew out Boise, and they had Gonzaga on the ropes, who was the number overall seed. Those are their NCAA tournament results under Penny Hardaway. Like, Colorado State is good. They are playing exceptional basketball lately. But, like, I don't think that Memphis metrics are real at all.
Okay.
It's an interesting game, but I think when I think the way that Colorado State has been, not even just like the quality of their play, but just like their scheme. I really enjoy the way that they run their offense. I think, they have so many dynamic scorers, obviously headlined by Clifford, but it's really a whole group effort over these past couple of weeks, and I think that's what you need heading into the tournament. Is you need everyone starting to feel that. But I mean, 10-game win streak heading into the tournament. I think the not only the teams, but I also think the coaching matchup is very interesting as well. Medved and Hardaway are both up there. I mean, obviously Medved's kind of heading his way into the jump seat right now with the way that he's been leading his squad. But I don't know. I've been a big Colorado State truther all year long, and I don't see why there's any reason to stop now. Especially when they're peaking at the right time. The issue is, do people think that they peaked maybe in the conference tournament and now they're on the decline right now? That could be the only issue I see.
They've been building towards this. Like they went 16-4 in Mountain West play. They destroyed Utah State. They won at Boise State by double digits. They were killing teams at the end of the season. The Mountain West tournament was not an isolated incident. We were talking about Colorado State winning the Mountain West tournament. Jonathan, you had a Colorado State to win the Mountain West tournament ticket.
I did. Plus 360. Cash it.
Yeah. I think it's got to be, you really do need a whole group effort, though. I think Haggerty and this Memphis squad is so talented that if you want to have a chance, you need almost all 5 starters to have above average games. I think Jalen Crocker Johnson's due for one.
Oh man,
Little Rock dog.
That's my boy, Jalen Crocker Johnson. He doesn't know who I am, but that's
Little Rock freshman dog.
I loved him at Little Rock. I loved him at his high school in San Antonio. I should go to his high school when I'm in San Antonio and just say thank you for bringing Jalen Crocker Johnson into the world.
Yeah, I think he's due for one. I think Lake and Clifford obviously have had their shine. I think it's time for the sophomore to get some of his.
But yeah, Neek Clifford. Jonathan, Neek Clifford is 6th in Ken Palm National Player of the Year. Did you know that?
I did know that, actually. Saw it
20.
the other day.
What did you say?
I saw it the other day.
He has 2 more Ken Palm game MVPs than anyone else in the country. Trivia time. 3 players tied with 18. Who are they?
Three other players or him included?
He has 20.
Oh, okay. So 3 players tied for second.
Yep. What is going on in our chat?
Dude, my friends are like losing their minds.
Well, oh, man, it's tough.
Grant, shouldn't you be booking travel to Wichita? Actually, that's a drive.
It'll be a short stay. Just kidding. We'll talk about that in a sec. I have no idea, Sam. Genuinely no idea.
Go. Talk. Oh, I asked you a question.
Yeah, dude. You're losing it.
We have strayed so far from what God intended.
Oh my gosh.
It's Jedi Broom, Ryan Kalkbrenner, and All-American Bennett Starks.
Damn right.
Huskies. Stags, them too.
Mulkey. No, just kidding.
WBIT. Quinnipiac Seton Hall. Elite game. Elite game, round 1.
Saints. I don't know. I don't watch enough women's basketball to make that judgment.
I watch too much Big East women's basketball. That's the issue. Shout out Jordy Allen. DePaul. All right.
Maryland, GCU.
Maryland.
Horrible matchup for GCU.
Just, yeah, like GCU needs a team that they can out-athlete. They can't out-athlete Maryland.
Correct. It's as simple as that.
Kevin Willard finally breaking the stereotypes now? Is he bucking his trend?
I have been a Kevin Willard hater through the years.
As have I, but this team is good.
But honestly, when we did our exercise earlier today, I called Willard the best coach in the quad.
I did not.
Wow.
Is this the worst quad for coaches?
Yeah, probably.
Like it has to be.
Yeah,
That's
I'd
actually
say
kind of
so.
crazy to think about.
I'd say so. Maybe that Wisconsin quad,
Maybe.
but like probably
No, 'cause I think I'd take Guard and Odom.
it's better. It's probably better than this one.
But, I mean, Medved is just as good. Like I don't blame you for taking him there, but obviously it's not Bryce Drew, and it's sure as hell not Penny Hardaway.
Nope.
But yeah, give me the Terps. And that's going to be a really fun second round matchup when we get into that after the show. Now it's time to talk about the Tigers, the Missouri Tigers, and the Drake Bulldogs. Jonathan, you left the stream when Drake popped up as Missouri's 11.
Oh yeah, I walked away. It was too much for me. So now that I've had some time to sit here and think about it, first of all, pick the Valley team to win a game in the NCAA tournament 3 years in a row, and is it 3 or 4 at this point? I think it's 3. Yeah, it's 3, and they've hurt me every time. So that's one. Not that should be important, but it's just something that has happened. On this game, Drake is a team that obviously likes to play super slow and will create a lot of things at the end of the shot clock, as well as the offensive rebound and play solid defense. Offensive rebounding could be a problem. A lot of Mizzou people today, have pointed out how Drake's tallest player is 6'8". That does not matter, especially with the Mizzou team that isn't great on the defensive glass. But Mizzou is, however, really athletic and really fast. And I have a really tough time sitting here and betting on Drake to be able to create high quality shots at the end of the shot clock against a team that's really athletic and long, like Mizzou is. And so that's why I'm picking Mizzou.
I understand that. I think the way that Drake is going to need to run their offense is they're going to have to hope that Mizzou isn't able to hang, that they make one defensive lapse in like that 25th or 26th second. And they find either a kick out that's wide open or a back cut that's there. Like that's how they're going to have to play this game. And I think when you have a guy like Sturtz, it's so much, there's a lot less pressure for the rest of the guys to make the perfect play, because either Sturtz he's gonna he can make his own shot, or he's gonna see the pass and he's gonna be able to catch that mistake. I think that's where this team is gonna really succeed, because I also agree that if they can slow this pace down, especially on the offensive end, and play their game, I don't think Drake is. That's how you beat Drake, is if you get them out of that pace. I don't think this Mizzou team can get them out of that pace yet. Look,
Mizzou's an interesting. Mizzou runs some interesting stuff. They do some stuff differently from most teams. Like Ben McCollum's seen everything. He coached Division II basketball and won like 152% of his games. He's never given me a reason to doubt him. I don't feel like incredibly confident picking a team that has a 28% chance to win according to KenPom. But like I don't have a reason to think that they won't win.
Listen, like Ben's the better coach in this game. Like if he finds a way,
Ben's the way better coach. Like Dennis is good, but like Dennis has given me reasons to doubt him compared to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, if Ben finds a way, and if Drake finds a way in this game, I will not be the least bit surprised. I'm not ready to be like hurt by the Valley again. Just not.
What now?
Text from Pat.
Yeah, Dallahan's going nuts.
Texas Tech, UNCW. We're in agreement here that UNCW is a pretty they got a pretty brutal draw here.
I was so high on UNCW when they won the CAA. I would have loved the Blue Hens just for the plot, but I think like this is such a bad. It's two teams that I'm so high on, and one of them is like literally one of the best teams in the country. So I can't pick against them.
All right, let's move on. I'm ready to call it quits at this point with this show. We've gone way too long.
Dude, you need your sleep.
No, I don't. Jonathan and I are gonna talk for a while after this show.
All right, well, it's fitting that we end the show with personally my favorite quad.
Get these guys out of here.
Mid off, bro.
Dude, Patino, Calipari, and Self in one quad.
This would have gone crazy in 2011. I mean, look, Self has had was thinking about this year at this time last year, and yet he's 2 seats lower, 3 seats lower than he was last year. Meanwhile,
big Z game.
Yeah.
Big Z game. It'll be the first big Z game since, his first game of his college career.
The big Z game.
Yeah, pull Dickinson out of the paint, eliminate any, defensive power he might have. I am actually kind of glad that Fland is back for Arkansas, because I would hate to have Wagner playing point guard against DeJuan Harris. No, open up the driving lanes for those wings. They've honestly been better without Tiero. So
I just don't. I really do not like this Kansas team. I don't think they've meshed at all. I think that their inability to shoot the three has really has turned me off from them, especially because they don't really do anything particularly, great. So they can't really make up for it in any other way. I just think Arkansas has had, a more. I feel like they've been more consistent, and I think that's really all you need to go against the Kansas team that has so many conflicting, styles and conflicting, pieces that just can't fit together. So I think Arkansas takes this one.
And St. John's, Omaha, unfortunately, Jordan Sarnoff will not.
The trash cans live.
Jordan Sarnoff will not have another miracle.
Jake Circus is picking Omaha. He's not actually. He just hates the St. John's team.
All right, Jonathan. After 2 hours and 36, how long was this pod last year? Well, let's see. How long was our? How long was our?
All right, just pulling this up real quick.
It was an hour and 28.
Pulling this up real quick before we get out of here. If you want to hear our full bracket breakdown with our picks, we'll be back Wednesday night to do that. For now, tonight was just an initial reaction, breaking down the matchups that we do have. So we're taking this slow. We're giving it at a time. Dude, I wish we could do this. But unfortunately, I think Sam has been up for 24 straight hours.
He has.
No, I actually slept from like 8 to 11:45.
That's good.
I woke up at a very perfect time for the Ivy League game.
Yep, Wednesday. Tomorrow night, search season with Curry Pick Sage.
7:30.
7:30 Eastern. Following night, Quentin Corpuel will be joining me to break down the now infamous.
Also, I will be joined by Matt Moderno at some point over the next few days. We will be previewing Mount St. Mary's against American.
That's a nice little collab.
Oh, shoot. You know what I need to do? I need to do a Fairfield K-State women's preview with
Kevin.
With a certain duo.
Dude, bring Conander on too.
Why not?
Dude, definitely. That'll be much listen.
Yeah.
All right. If you came to hear about Tyler Self and where he's working, you came to the right place. If you came to hear me and Fetterman argue about High Point and the 225th ranked defense in the country,
227th, Jonathan,
you came to the right
Sam,
place.
you gonna get that tattooed on you? Just 227th ranked defense.
Yeah, you should
just to make sure.
Who is the 225th ranked defense? Just
write it on your hand so you don't remember.
Make a guess of who the 225th ranked defense is.
That would be South Dakota.
It is.
No way.
No, it's Fort Wayne.
That would be crazy.
South Dakota is probably 300th because that league plays zero defense. 332.
Well, if you came to hear about the latest happenings with Caleb Grill, you came to the right place. This has been season 5, episode 77 of Brackets, Bubbles, and Bid Stealers. We'll see you tomorrow night.